I am sure that you are not moving from France, so let's assume that the only reason you clicked on this video is because you are moving into your new dream home and leaving your temporary rental apartment. In this case, you probably want to know how to properly cancel your lease and move into your new dream home. Stay with me, so by the end of this video, you will master the lease canceling game, and most importantly, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any new update about relocating to France. If you're already a tenant in France, you probably know that the law is less strict on tenants than it is with landlords in France. So you will be happy to hear that this applies to the cancellation of your lease agreement as well. First, good news. You as a tenant can cancel your lease agreement at any time during the lease term. Yes, you heard that right. Even if you decide you want to cancel your lease and move out of the apartment the next day of signing your lease agreement, you have the right to do it. Obviously, it's probably not what you're planning on doing. However, it's always good to know that you will have no fees or any kind of penalty if you cancel the lease before its term. Even though the law is quite easy on the tenant when it's one's primary residence, but you will still have to respect certain conditions when canceling your lease depending on the initial type of lease that you signed. First, let's talk about the duration of your notice period. Even though you can terminate your lease at any time, you will obviously have to respect a certain notice period. For an unfurnished apartment, your notice period is 3 months long. Even though your initial notice period with an unfurnished rental is 3 months long, if you fulfill certain conditions, this can be reduced to 1 month. I will put a link in the description with those conditions. The most common one is, however, when the apartment or the house is located in a zone tendue, meaning a very dense area housing-wise. It's almost every big cities in France. So if your apartment is located in one of these big cities, your notice period will be reduced to 1 month. But you will have to make sure to indicate this reason in your notice letter when sending it, because otherwise you will have to respect the 3 months notice period. In case of a furnished rental, again, your notice period is always 1 month, regardless of the location of the property. Now that you know how easy it is to cancel your lease in France, you might be tempted to stop watching this video. But I would really strongly recommend you finish watching it because you haven't heard the most important part of canceling a lease. In fact, if you want your notice period to start, you will have to follow some very simple but strict rules. Let's see how to cancel your lease like a pro. First, you will have to deliver your notice letter properly. What do I mean by properly? You have 3 ways of doing it properly. You will have to notify either your landlord or the agency who manages the property. First option is sending your notice letter as a registered letter with a receipt. The second one is having it hand delivered and having a receipt of acknowledgement. The third option is having a bailiff deliver it. This will, however, cost you more money than the first 2 options. It's very important that you understand that you cannot simply call, text, WhatsApp, or email your landlord to inform them that you want to cancel the lease. You will actually have to choose between the 3 options that I previously mentioned. So when will your notice period actually start? Your notice period will start the day that the landlord or the agency receives your notice letter. It's not on the day that you send it, it's on the day where they receive it. So, for example, if you send it by post, it can take up to 5 to 7 business days for them to get it. So you will want to make sure that you include this in your calculation when canceling your lease. Regardless of the duration of your notice period, you are required to pay the whole amount of your rent until the very last day of your rental period. For example, if your notice letter gets delivered on the 15th of the month, you will have to pay your rent until the 15th of the next month. You absolutely cannot use your security deposit to cover your last month's rent. If your lease agreement is not a primary lease but a secondary lease or a lease related to your professional activity in France, conditions can vary. In this case, you want to make sure to refer to the conditions as they are written in your lease agreement. In fact, with these kind of lease contracts, conditions can be freely determined and clauses can be very different from a regular primary residence lease. So what happens once your notice period is over? You will conduct the exit inspection with the landlord or with the agency. This is a very, very important appointment that you will have to attend. In fact, you will walk around the apartment with the landlord and the agency, completing a document, the exit inspection document, and noting the current state of the apartment. It's very important to make sure that the information that's written on this document is accurate, because this will be very important for you later. This is extremely important because this will allow the owner to compare the entry and the exit inspection documents and see if you're responsible and if you will need to pay for any reparations in the apartment. If you caused any damages during your stay at the apartment, the landlord has the right to take this amount off your security deposit before refunding it to you. However, they will need to provide you with invoices or quotes to prove that the amount that they are keeping for themselves is actually accurate. The delay that the landlord has to respect when refunding you the security deposit is 1 month if no damages were noted during the exit inspection, and 2 months if damages were noted and reparations are to be made. In case there are some reparations that need to be made, the landlord has 2 months to refund you the security deposit and give you the proof and the invoices of the amounts that they are keeping to make these renovations. So now that you know how the lease termination process works for a tenant, you will see how it works for a landlord. As mentioned before, law is way harder on the landlords in France than it is on tenants. So the landlord, if they want to get their property back, they have to respect certain conditions and a very strict timeline in order to reclaim their apartments. There are only 3 reasons that allows a landlord to terminate a lease agreement. The first reason is if they want to reclaim their apartment to make one of their close family members live in the property, such as their spouses, their children, or their parents. The second option is if they want to sell the property. The third option is if they have a legitimate and serious reason so that they want to take their apartment back. This can be, for example, if there are huge renovations that has to be made in the apartment that won't allow the tenant to continue living there. If it's a furnished rental, the landlord has to give notice 3 months before the rental period. A furnished lease is signed for 1 year, meaning that the landlord has to give notice at least 3 months before the end of this period. In case of an unfurnished rental, the lease is signed for 3 years, meaning that the landlord has to wait 2.5 years before being able to give notice to the tenant. You'll have to give notice at least 6 months before the end of the rental term. This is it for today. I really hope you enjoyed it and you learned something new. Make sure to leave a comment, to like the video so it can get to more people who might need it. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Au revoir!